At the edge of the world stood the whispering woods, a forest both beautiful and feared. Sunlight filtered through jade needles, but villagers spoke of it in whispers. They called it the forest that borrows, for it had a strange appetite, not for flesh, but for faces. The legend was simple: enter with a heart heavy with sorrow, and the forest would notice. It would not harm you, but it would borrow your face, leaving you blank and empty. In return, it would take your pain, swallowing your grief deep within its ancient heart. Those who returned were changed, calm, faceless, emptied of memory and sorrow. Villagers cared for them, but mourned the person lost to a gentle, unnerving peace. The forest became a place of last resort, a promise of relief and a threat of losing yourself. Its wind sounded like 1,000 forgotten sorrows, a lullaby for the grieving. The forest waited, patient and terribly kind, always ready to help you set down your burden. But the price was steep, peace in exchange for the very thing that made you, you. And so, the legend endured. Elia knew the stories, but for her, the Whispering Woods was no myth. It had taken her brother Leo, the last family she had. One morning, he vanished into the trees, leaving only a worn photograph of their laughter behind. Grief clung to Elia, heavy and cold. At night she dreamed of Leo, not his voice but whispers like rustling leaves, calling her into the woods. The villagers warned her, the forest takes what it is owed. But Elia's heart was hollow. What was a face compared to a brother? With the photograph in her pocket, she resolved to follow the whispers. She would enter the forest that borrows, not to lose her pain, but to find its source. She would search for Leo, even if only a memory remained. If she could not bring him home, she would become faceless beside him. The thought did not frighten her. Life without Leo was already incomplete. So Elia stepped toward the trees, ready to risk everything for love. The forest waited. Under the evergreens, the world fell silent. The whispers from Elia's dreams guided her deeper, soft as moth wings. The forest felt watchful, understanding, knowing why she had come. Soon she saw them, wooden masks hanging from branches, each one unique. Some screamed, some smiled, some wept, faces borrowed by the forest. Elia touched a mask etched with worry and felt a flash of someone else's pain. These were not just masks, but vessels for sorrow, a library of grief. The whispers grew stronger, leading her past groves of smiling and weeping faces. Sometimes she glimpsed faceless figures slipping between the trees. The forest showed her its price, peace in exchange for memory and pain. Leave your sadness here, the whispers seemed to say. But Elia clutched her photograph and pressed on. She would not surrender her sorrow, not yet. The path narrowed, the masks thickened, and the forest's invitation grew louder. Still, she walked on. In a clearing, Elia found a boy on a fallen log. His face was blank, no eyes, no mouth, yet she knew him. Leo. He moved with calm unfamiliar to her brother, serene and empty. Elia's sorrow rang loud in the stillness. "Leo," she whispered, but he did not react. He reached into his pocket and held out a photograph, their photograph. He offered it as if to a stranger, no recognition in his posture. Elia took it, her hands trembling. "Do you know who this is?" she asked. The boy shook his head. A whisper, not his own, drifted from him. "She looks sad, like you." The forest had not just taken his face, but every memory of their love. In healing his pain, it had erased her from his world. The truth settled on Elia. This forest was no monster, but a healer with a cruel cure. It cut away pain, storing it in masks, and took the face that wore it. Leo had come not to die, but to forget, trading memories for peace. The forest granted his wish, making him a stranger to his own life. Elia saw the logic: to heal a wound, sometimes you must remove what causes it. She and their life together were bound to his pain. The whispers she'd heard were not his spirit, but the echo of sorrow left behind. Now the forest called to her, offering the same bargain. She felt a new sadness, not sharp loss, but the ache of understanding. She could not hate the forest, nor blame Leo for his choice. Some wounds are too deep, some kindnesses too costly. Elia saw not a monster, but a victim of a mercy indistinguishable from cruelty. The forest offered Elia a choice: let go, and it would take her pain and her face. She imagined a life of empty peace, faceless beside her brother, freed from grief. The temptation was real, to surrender, to rest. But the photograph in her hand reminded her, her sorrow was proof of love. To lose pain would be to lose the joy that came before it. Her grief was the last piece of Leo she had left. It was heavy, but it was hers. With a final look at the peaceful, empty boy, Elia made her choice. She turned and walked away, leaving the clearing and its borrowed peace behind. As she stepped into sunlight, a soft thud sounded, a mask falling from a branch. She didn't look back, but knew it was Leo's smile, released at last. The forest kept his pain, but let his joy go free. Elia walked on, her own face intact, learning that some things cannot be healed, but they can be carried.